sarrando na PT. 4, 5, me taca no carro, bicho. 1, 2, 3, vou sarrando na PT. 4, 5, me taca no carro, bicho. 1, 2, 3, vou sarrando na PT. 4, 5,
Hello, everybody.
Hola, todo el mundo.
I'm not silly any longer. Like Fletcher, everybody. This is Ursula. She's sophisticated. She doesn't do do or booyah, any of those things we used to do when we first came on live. So I'll leave that to Fletcher. This is a new me, and I'm very sophisticated. You know, that person who was screaming about Bernie Sanders and Pocahontas. Yes. Pocahontas is no longer the case. I'm dignified and quite even. Demure, even demure. Yes, even keeled and very demure nice. And very subdued at this point, So I don't react like that anymore. So you're on your own there, Fletcher. That's not how I do.
I'll be doing the zip-to-do.
Oh, see, no zip-to-do's on this over here.
Zip-to-do.
We're dignified channel.
Dignified desert birds, right?
We're dignified desert birds.
Okay, well there you go. That's the style. Well, you are, since you are bringing classy stuff. Classy stuff. Let's bring out our president, who had a classy reception today.
Did he?
The White House. So this was earlier today, not too early, but he was. This was a live reception earlier today for Black History Month. Remember that he was going to cancel Black History Month and forget those.
He was going to cancel blacks, you see.
Yeah,
all of us.
All the blacks.
He's going to cancel us.
So we'll see what happens.
Not to mention Black History Month. Yes.
Yeah, let's see what he says.
Let's see what happens.
Let's go to Washington, D.C. at the East Room of the White House.
Look at Tiger Woods looking sharp.
Thank you very much.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Poor thing. His mom died recently.
I know.
This is some crowd. How are you? Thank you. Leo. This is some crowd. These are the best people, Tiger. And we have Adam Scott here also, winner of the Masters, one of the greatest golfers in the world. I've always tried to swing just like Adam. It never worked out that way. And Tiger, we know, and I just want to thank Adam and Tiger and the commissioner of golf. Jay, thank you very much for being here. Jay Monahan, head of the PGA. And we had some interesting discussions. But let me ask you, is there anybody like our Tiger? How are you? He's the great. Would you want to just say a couple of words, Tiger? He doesn't. He's much more comfortable. Tiger.
It's just egging him on. It's hilarious.
Hey, it's an honor to be here. It's an honor to be here with you, Mr. President, and to be honored here with all of you. Thank you so much.
Are you tired of all those?
He's getting up there, man. Everybody's getting older, and
everybody's getting up there, right?
He's not exempt. We're all getting older, so
yeah, we're all a little bit older.
We're all a little bit. He's okay. He looks good.
It looks good. Yeah, it looks good.
He looks good. Yeah. He's all right.
Thanks, Tiger. And I want to thank all of you very much for being here. Welcome to the White House, and we proudly celebrate Black History Month. How are you, darling?
No, I honestly am surprised. I thought it was canceled.
Black legends, champions, warriors, and patriots who helped drive our country forward to greatness. And you really are great people. What a great, nice group of. I have some people in front of me every once in a while with all the problems that are caused all over the world. They're not nice. They're not nice. But we're making them nice, I can tell you that, and we're making them nice rapidly. So we're pleased to be joined in this really beautiful afternoon at the White House by hundreds of incredible members of the African American community. Many of whom are making history themselves, including one of the greatest athletes of all time, who you just said hello, the man who matched Sam Snead's #1 record for the most PGA Tour wins ever, and a man who has 15 majors, and he's got a long way to go, too. I was with him a week ago. We played. I think he's got some left, doesn't he, huh? He's got a couple of majors left, maybe more than that. But Tiger Woods, he's an incredible guy, an incredible athlete, incredible player. Thank you for being with us, Tiger. Thank you very much. And he got the Presidential Medal of Freedom, which he proudly wore today. And
all right.
It's very good.
We have Senator Tim Scott here. What do you think, Tim? You never got the Presidential Medal. Maybe someday.
Throwing shade.
Maybe someday. You better believe it. And also, Adam, thank you very much. Adam is, as Tiger will tell you, one of the greatest players and one of the great modern players. And he had 32 wins worldwide and winning the Masters also. And he's something very special and a great representative of golfers and athletes. Thank you very much, Adam. Even though he doesn't quite come from our country, he sort of does, right? He's here a lot. He comes from another nice place like Australia, right? And they've been very good, very, very good to us. Jay, thank you very much. Appreciate it very much. We also have the head of Pfizer here, so I want to thank him. One of the great people, one of the great businessmen.
Oh my gosh, that's funny. They feel comfortable being themselves.
Thank you very much.
Oh my gosh, that's awesome.
Thank you very much.
That is
Sintra
hilarious.
has just
That
released
is
AI
funny,
employees,
right?
and it
That
has
is
me
hilarious.
terrified.
You know,
Meet
Pfizer
with
has a
for all
problem.
4 areas.
They have a problem.
calendar for my.
I want to congratulate our newly sworn in Secretary of Housing and Urban Development, Scott Turner. Come in. I got to say hello. Come on up here, Scott. I had Tim Scott pushing him so hard, you have no idea. I had no choice. Is that right, Tim? No, Scott I've known him a long time, and Scott's a real champion. Say a couple of words.
Oh yeah, I know this guy. Yeah.
Well, hello everyone. Is everybody happy to be here together? Is everybody happy to be here together? Amen. Well, first of all, I want to thank President Trump for his confidence and appointing me to this position. I consider it a great honor and a great blessing. And I thank God for this, and I'm real humbled by it. And you can guarantee that every day that I'm going to lay it down for the people of America.
President Trump like that kind of talk.
Thank you for your leadership. I really appreciate you. And for all of those who have gone before us, and those of you who have such a great voice today, keep on speaking, keep on preaching for not just Black America, but for all America.
All right.
So we appreciate you. And my sister, Brooke Rollins, and all of those here, Mr. President, we look forward to working with you, sir.
All
Great
right.
agenda. We pray for you every day.
Okay.
God bless you, and thank you. God bless America. Thank you for President Trump. Thanks.
Wow. Interesting.
And I see we have a newly, I think you just got in, right? They just confirmed you, and you did it very nicely. Brooke Rollins, she's the Secretary of Agriculture. It's a big deal. That's great, Brooke. That was a good vote you had too, huh? She went through very easily, a little easier than some of our people, but they were all approved, every one of them. And today we just had Kash Patel approved, which is great.
Right.
Wow.
So, Brooke, congratulations. Secretary of Agriculture, that's big stuff, right? That's big. So you're going to do fantastically. And congratulations also to a really good friend of mine. He endorsed me early, and he was one of the best surrogates you could have. The surrogate is when you walk around and go on television shows and they go try and beat you up, but he beat them up. They didn't have a chance against Tim Scott, Senator Tim Scott from South Carolina. And he's now the longest serving Black United States Senator in the history of our country. I don't know.
All right.
That's
No
pretty
kidding. That is pretty good.
good. He's going to be around for a long time, right? He just got married. Congratulations on that, too. Beautiful, beautiful wife. Thanks as well to Congressman John James. Where's John James? Is he here? Hi, John. How are you? It's a star, young star. I knew that 5 years ago, right, John? I sort of predicted it. And I'm proud to say that we now have more black Republicans serving in the U.S. House than at any time since 1870.
Wow.
That's a long time.
We got to send that to our families.
What?
So thank you very much. And Scott, you're going to be fantastic.
That's
I'll tell you, you're going
amazing.
to do a great job. As you know, the Americans are going to be celebrating something very important coming up, our 250th anniversary, our nation's founding. And when we do, we're going to look forward to honoring the contributions of countless Black Americans who fought to win and protect and expand American freedom from the very, very beginning. And some of my good friends are here today, and I appreciate you being. I'm not going to call out your names because Tiger will get very bored. He'll say, this is a little boring. This is a little boring if we do that. But I want to thank you all for being here. You are our friends, and we appreciate this. You, McGee, you are my friend. The last administration tried to reduce all of American history to a single year, 1619. But under our administration, we honor the indispensable role Black Americans have always played in the immortal cause of another date, 1776. We like 1776. In the very skirmish of the Revolutionary War at Lexington Green, an enslaved Black man named Prince Estabrook, you know Prince Estabrook? Yeah. Answered history's call and fought as the Minutemen alongside the other patriots of the very small Massachusetts town. Couldn't protect itself, but they did a good job. Prince was wounded in the early morning battle, becoming not only the first African-American soldier to fight in the Revolution, but among the very first Americans to spill their blood. One of the first in the nation to spill blood in that very, very tough time. Soon Estabrook joined the Continental Army and ultimately won his own freedom along with that of his fellow Americans. His legacy will endure, and we're very proud to honor him today. It's a very important day in our country, and we honor him. First person to spill blood happened to be Tim Estabrook. Today, I'm pleased to announce that we will be including the statue of Prince Estabrook in our new National Garden of American Heroes. We're going to be doing a garden of American heroes. And now that I think of it, I must tell you, sadly, most of them, I guess all of them are not with us any longer. I was going to put Tiger in the garden, but maybe you don't want to be I maybe should wait a little bit, huh? Like about 50. I think I'm going to wait about 50 years, all right? But Tiger's going to make it, okay? But I'm a little afraid to tell him yes, because he'd be the only one that's living. I don't know, Tiger. Tiger's rejecting that offer, right? Under the executive order I signed last month, this new beautiful outdoor statue park. It's going to be a statue park. It's going to be unbelievable. We're picking the final sites now. It's between various states that want it very badly. We'll honor hundreds of our greatest Americans to ever live, including countless Black Americans, icons. The garden will predominantly feature incredible women like Harriet Tubman, Rosa Parks, Billie Holiday, Aretha Franklin, and Coretta Scott King. And I will showcase it will be something very extraordinary. It's going to be we're going to produce some of the most beautiful works of art in the form of a statue from men like Frederick Douglass, Booker T. Washington, Jackie Robinson, what a great athlete
This
that
is
was.
Fantastic. Very
Martin
interesting.
Luther King Jr., Muhammad Ali, he's not a bad athlete. What do you think? Not too bad.
Not too bad.
And the late Kobe Bryant. People love Kobe Bryant. And we're going to save Tiger Woods for another time. That's all that I can. I'm sorry. During Black History Month, we pay tribute to these heroes, and that's not simply because they're Black heroes, but also because they are truly American heroes who inspire all of us, very much so. The theme of this year's celebration is African Americans and labor. And we want to thank all of the black workers, construction workers, and every other worker. They do a job like nobody can do. And we want to just thank them very much for their contribution, Tim. The contribution you've made, Tim, is incredible. Opportunity Zone, so many people, so many. He's the father of Opportunity Zone. I'm just the son. He's the father because he came into the White House, the Oval Office, with this idea. And it's probably the #1 economic development project ever in our country. And I want to give Senator Tim Scott the credit for it. Good job, Tim. Of course, millions of blacks were first brought here in slavery, and they were kept in that evil condition for really generations. But because of the steadfast faith and courage of so many patriots of all colors, we abolished that horrific institution, expanded civil rights, and advanced America's destiny as one nation under God with liberty and justice for all.
For all.
Just a few months ago, the people in this room and millions of other black Americans played their own part in the American story when you went to the voting booths and restored a nice, good, solid.
Wow, it's amazing. Weren't we going to be canceled or something?
Yeah, I think this is a really nice gesture on President Trump's part. You know, one thing we didn't get a chance to discuss, Fletcher, is how in the beginning when Trump said that he was, going to renege everything that Biden did. And then we had the military immediately saying, there's no DEI, etc. There was some attempts to do what we mentioned last time of malicious compliance, meaning, okay, you don't want DEI. Well, we won't even have, any collard greens in the dining room. And we will no longer teach about the Tuskegee Airmen, who were a historic black fighting regiment in World War II. And eventually, I think pretty immediately, actually, Pete Hegseth, now head of Department of Defense, said that is not what we meant. You know that. You're just trying to make this sound worse than it is. We're just saying we don't want any divisive celebrations or any emphasis on anything about our differences, but we absolutely believe that's all of our history. So I thought that was pretty interesting. And I think President Trump is following up with that with something like this. He's saying, look, just because I'm abolishing DEI, I think there's a lot of miscommunication about this, doesn't mean I'm abolishing Black history or knowledge of what people of color, Black people, have contributed to the society in America and have made America great. Everybody who's done their part has made America great. And so have we. And I think that's pretty interesting. I definitely was talking about this with some people today, and they thought, President Trump has canceled Black History Month. And I couldn't say no, because honestly, I didn't know. At the end of the day, I think I'm willing to let that go for the sake of, cheaper gas and eggs. I think that's more important. But it is kind of a nice gesture, I think, on his part. What do you think?
No, I agree. I think this solidifies that a lot of these so-called DEI stuff, I know a lot of people in our side has been talking about it, how it doesn't really benefit who you think it benefits. I mean, most of the time I'm letting people know, hey, the majority of people who benefit from this so-called DEI things, it's like, really, if you want to look at it, are white women, right?
And alphabet mafia.
Yeah, and that's the in the alphabet mafia. But it's not Black the white women claiming to be alphabet mafia.
Well, yeah, that's true.
Yeah. So, but for one thing, we all know that they're very
weird.
They're very weird. We can say that the weird people are the ones who benefit from a lot of these things. But I mean, this percentage of Blacks, Indigenous, and Latinos who benefit from the DI are minuscule. Like, I think it was like, I think like 4%, 5% or something like that. It was crazy. So it wasn't benefiting who people thought it was benefiting. And it was just being used as a tool to basically to kind of have people bring in all their friends, bring in all the ideology, It was less about making sure that other voices are heard in the workforce and more we're gonna, you're gonna have to bring in this person that I want to hire, even though they might not be qualified, or they might not be as qualified as somebody else because they fit all these boxes. And then you have all these boxes being filled. Because we even saw it. People were talking about it, even like in Hollywood, they're casting directors or casting people, and we hear stuff as like, oh, this film was directed by all women cast, or they were directed by this, and you're like, okay, that's cool, I guess, but it's like over and over and over again. At one point, do you say, okay, this is a gimmick, we get it, And it's like, okay, don't. But now you're like, this is what it's gonna be. And now you're like saying, well, that sounds a little bit like discrimination, less like inclusion and more like exclusion. So,
right. Yeah.
So
no, I mean,
I
think you're right. I mean, that's something that's a hard pill to swallow for some people. I think a lot of people did swallow the DEI paradise, hook, line, and sinker, as though that was reality. And so the idea that, it can be discriminatory to other people, I don't think that came to a lot of people's minds. Now, you do have people that is their intention, but I don't think everybody was of bad faith that way. I think some people thought, oh, this is just reality. This is a great thing. And it's like, well, no, it's really one-sided. So I think you're right, Fletcher. I think he's trying to right the ship. But here's the thing. At the end of the day, I do think it's a bit of an overcorrection. But that has to perhaps happen in order to bring it back to the middle. You see what I'm saying? Yeah. Perhaps that is what has to happen. I mean, I'm not saying that we should. First of all, I don't think government should be taking note of our race at all. I do think we should be more of a colorblind society. I think we obsess about it. There's way too much emphasis on it. It became, kind of, this dividing thing between us. It doesn't need to be that. We're all Americans. That's the end of the day. But there's people who really feel it's very important to highlight, the struggles. And I get that. But I think right now what President Trump is doing is trying to show, I'm not letting you go where you were with Barack Obama and Joe Biden, but I'm not erasing you. I think that was it's a nice touch. I mean, I'm certain some people, you can't win them over no matter what you do. No. But I think for some, this might be nice for them. What do you think?
No, I agree. I totally agree because on X, they were already complaining about the Kobe Bryant statue, right?
Oh, really?
Yeah, because people are like, he's making a Kobe Bryant statue, and Kobe Bryant didn't like him, and they bring up like one of his old tweets or something like that. And it's like you can bring division, you can bring unity, but at the end of the day, you're always going to have the people that are going to be, okay, this is this is that, and both sides have it, right? But I do think that there comes a time when you got to go, okay, what are you really fighting against? It's like, are you raging against the machine, or are you just raging? Because there was this band called Rage Against the Machine, and you were like, the entitlement and the government, forget that, Rage Against the Machine. And we're like, yeah, of course, yeah. And now they're like, they were pushing like, vote for Hillary and stuff like that. You're like, what? You had people like Public Enemy and stuff like that come out, and they were like, well, I thought you were against the government. And now all of a sudden they're like, yeah, they're pushing for Democrats, and you're like, what is this?
Right.
It makes absolutely no sense. Where's the punk? Where's the fight against the establishment?
Right.
So you're like, you're raging with the machine. And I felt that we had that coming along. It got used, and we got used. A lot of people were saying that we were almost like costumes, right? Like, this is horrible, but in certain wars, they had things like to where they would put prisoners like in shields, and they would carry them in front of the battle, so the enemy would hesitant to like throw spears or rocks or anything like that towards the enemy, because they might hit a fellow a fellow countryman, right, or family or something like that. You call them meat shields, literally.
Wow.
And people were saying this is they were using us as meat shields, right? They were saying, "Oh, I'm for the blacks, the Latinos, the natives, and all this kind of stuff." And they were just using us to push whatever the heck they wanted, because at the end of the day, most of it was just pushing the rainbow agenda, right? I mean, really, it just boiled down. Everything kind of simmered down. You simmered it down, and then when you got to the sauce was rainbow, right? And it was like, okay, you're black, cool, but are you black and you're native, you're cool, but are you native and you're Latino, cool, but are you? Because it never came onto our side. You never had somebody who was religious, or you didn't have people who were like hardcore, anything like that on their side, right? It was always seems like the people that told the line, because if you didn't toe the left line, then you weren't gonna go anywhere,
Right.
So I do feel that we had a little bit of a show. People were put up front to say, and a lot of people, I think, got hurt. We had people that were pressed in, like, even I guess I'm going to talk through the movie side. We did see a lot of directors being cast, but they really didn't direct the movie. They just kind of did some close-up scenes, and they would be behind the scenes, and people would say, no, they were just cast as the director. And it's like, well, that's not his fault. You know what I mean? I mean, just recently, the Captain America movie that a lot of people panned, which I liked. I thought some of the director's style came through, because it's like an indie director. And I felt some of his flair came through. Of course, a lot of the stuff is already directed, because you have CGI directors, you have stunt directors, and all this kind of stuff, to where what amount of the movie you're actually directing. But I guess I'm thinking of something like that, where people are like, are you just put your face on it because you're black, right? And
no, I think I understand what you're saying. Let me see if I can break it down, because you know what, Fletcher, you're being very philosophical tonight. I don't know if
well, you said you started with they were going to be classy, and I think I think you're being a little philosophical, and I think we have to break this down for our audience. Is like, what is Fletcher talking about? I think if I have it right, you tell me if I'm right. I think what you're saying is there's a way in which this obsession with so-called diversity and DEI and all this stuff is really masking diversity, because all it is lip service. All it is window dressing. All it is wearing a costume, and you're actually using people, because it's kind of like a tokenism. You're saying, oh, you're a person of color. Let's put you here in this position where you may or may not even belong, so that we can all feel, good about this Benetton ad that we're creating. And we don't care about the substance of this. We care about how it looks. And as you said, it's kind of like a meat shield. It's like, this is a way to protect ourselves, almost in this kind of spiritual amulet way, that, we're going to be protected from racism because we have, diversity. And it got to be kind of this false religion. And I see that. I think that, if I'm right, is that kind of what you're getting at? Is that bringing it down a little bit? Remember when Obama first got in office, and people were like, "Oh, that's it. That's the end of racism in America," right?
Yeah,
and it just felt like it got worse, because all the liberal,
it actually did get worse. Obama was not the uniter in chief. I think he liked to say that. Some of his fans, his sycophants, those who like his lapdogs, they say, oh, he's such a uniter. But honestly, I think he was quite divisive. I think that people really started to have more problems with others of different races under him than any other time in recent memory. I really do think that.
I do. And I can only speak from experience. I had a lot more people like talk down to me and talk at me, like down talk me, because you tell that they voted for Obama. So now they're like, well, now I can tell you, let me tell you, do you even speak English to tell you, those kind of people, they're like, dude, what? And I mean, one time I guess we were talking about this, and there was an article and there was a study done, and they said that they went to different rallies, a Democrat rally and a Republican rallies, right? The study found, I want to say it's Yale, but I don't remember. They did the study and they see how the message changed from group to group. And the researchers were surprised because they said that the Democrat rallies, they kind of changed the message from group to group. Like they went to a black church that would speak a way, they went to a Hispanic church that talk a certain way, you know? But the Republican group, the message was always the same no matter where they went. Right?
You know, I think that's a good point. I'm sorry, am I interrupting your story?
No, that was it. Yeah.
I think that you know, that is something about Republicans. I remember that I have an uncle that is a Republican, and one time, I think back when McCain was running against Obama, and he was actually going against Obama, you know, one of the, yes, those of you listening who think that's an anomaly, not so much. I have an uncle who was definitely campaigning for McCain against Obama. And I remember that his wife was saying something like, oh, you know, I think the Republicans should reach out to blacks and they should, you know, he said, you know what? The problem with that is Republicans don't really get into race like that. We just believe that we have the same values. I thought it was a good point he raised. I do agree that, you know, it's good to do reach outs. I think Trump has done that. That's why we had nearly 40% of black men who voted for him this last election. Mm-hmm. But I think that in a way he's right. You know, he's right because he's saying, look, we don't want that kind of, you know, racial identity politics stuff. We don't want you because we want you to have window dressing. We want you to come to us because you believe like we do. I think Trump is getting to that. I do think he is. I think this thing you just showed us, Fletcher, the White House, I think it was very genuine. People will disagree with us.
Oh yeah, completely.
But I think it was genuine. I think, you know, he is trying. He's saying, look, I don't want to erase you. I want us to move forward together. And I don't believe that we can survive, honestly, with the factions, you know. And I do believe that some people who do mean well, they are still putting blacks into ghettos by this like so-called diversity all the time in DEI. They're not seeing us as, you know, just interesting and unique members of the society, but like some extra token. And that's, you know, I think you're right. That's a problem. So we'll see. I'm kind of surprised. I you know, Fletcher, is there some kind of thing I can send to my family to show them that that he didn't cancel Black History Month? I think that some people I might need to pass that on to.
Well, I think part of it is this, you know, this is, you know, Mr. Controversial himself, right? It's like, you know, this guy, you know, negro nacionalista. Trump created monuments for honoring several
monuments. Yeah,
monuments honoring several foundation Black Americans heroes like Kobe Bryant, Martin Luther King, Frederick Douglass, Jack Robinson, you know, and others. But the Democrats said Trump was going to cancel Black History Month, right?
Well, that's what I thought too, honestly. But I wasn't so sad about it. I mean, a little miffed, but you know, maybe a little, you know, a little teary, like, oh well, goodbye to Black History Month. I didn't know he was still keeping it, but you know, that's cool. I mean, at the end of the day, I think we can survive without it. But I'm glad that he's, you know, that's nice. I think he's trying, you guys. He's trying. So I mean, some people might be this is the hard part where Trump is concerned, because you have your, I think, a little bit more right wing people. No offense to you guys, which includes Fletcher for those listening, who would be just as
right,
who is against, you know, any kind of identity months. And then you have people who are really for it, like beyond for it. And he has to really balance both of them, because if he does have something like he had today, then those who are really against them at all feels like he's pandering and will be unhappy that why are you still doing this stuff? But it's still maybe not going to be strong enough for those who really want to go gung-ho. I think, President Trump is really walking a bit of a tightrope. The good news is he's a pretty balanced tightrope walker. So I don't know, I think he's going to get that magical middle of people who are pretty reasonable, not too extreme either way, who will be like, okay, that's fine. And I think in that way, it might, for those who might be lamenting, thinking, oh, they're being erased or whatever, consider this, the fact that he is in a moderate way in engaging it is actually more positive because he's not going gung-ho. You're going to bring some people a little bit more to the right who will say, okay, you know what, there is some benefit to this. You see what I'm saying? Because he's so strongly against this, extra, woke sauce. The fact that he has a little bit of, here, let me acknowledge this. This is actually perfectly fine. I think might have more legitimacy in the long run, believe it or not.
I do too, because it does seem like he's, doing something that actually, has a benefit to it. Something that, should have been done a long time ago, I think, in a sense. And everybody talks about things like this, but nobody does anything about it. And I think that what more people came out for Trump is because they noticed that a lot of things that were happening were affecting the American families and American communities, all for the sake of this fictional worry, right? That actually wasn't really true. But I think one of the biggest effects is this, because stuff like this is actually making people saying, okay, this, promise is done, promise is said, promise is kept, right?
Yeah.
Just the fact that so many people hurting in lower income communities, because a lot of that funding was going millions. I mean, in California, we saw like millions, billions or something. We're going to the healthcare and the housing, all this kind of stuff. It's like, where's that for the Americans, right? You have whole communities, that there's people on the streets, or people like we even was said with Carolinas and stuff, where people were not getting help. And just now they started getting help with Trump in office. It's just that's insane, right? Because you never think that, okay, depending on where you vote and how you do, I mean, it's just.
Yeah, I mean, first of all, but with this kind of headline, what makes it really stunning to me is that we were constantly being gaslit by liberals telling us, well, illegal migrants, whatever, are not getting benefits. That's ridiculous. Only citizens get welfare. You guys are just believing basically conspiracy theories. They're not getting anything really. They're just, and we're like, yes, they are. And people weren't believing it. Well, now we have it in black and white with Trump signing an executive order cutting taxpayer funded benefits. That tells us that they were getting, as we have been saying all along, and as people have been doing their own exposés by showing, photographs of migrants or illegal aliens inside stores with these cards that had thousands of dollars on them, buying all kinds of stuff at the local supermarkets and department stores, and people are struggling, under Bidenomics. And, there are people who've been saying it, and people were actually acting as though this was some kind of conspiracy theory. Well, the fact is, if Trump is signing an order cutting off benefits to them, that means they were getting benefits, as we already have said. And you're right. This is time. I mean, Fletcher, as Catholic Christians, which, we do always come to this as, we're not saying that, at least I'm not saying, I don't know with you, Fletcher, you can be dicey. I'm not saying, I mean, we have to continually be educated as Christian people. We do have to have compassion, but they don't have to be inside of the taxpayer's pocket. See, stop reaching into the taxpayer pocket to benefit anybody. It should be the charity of people, the good-heartedness of people. I'm not saying there should be no social net of helping, but it should be pretty thin. It shouldn't be this robust complexity, of like all of this stuff and taking out of people out of people's pocket, especially for those who are not citizens. It doesn't mean you don't give a drink of water to somebody who's thirsty. The person who's in your land and is in trouble, help them, but help them in most cases go back home. I mean, there's very few people who should legitimately be here who came over without proper documentation. Those are those who literally running in fear of their lives. Like, today we'll probably cover it later, but there were Christians who were martyred. If they come running across the border, I'm okay with that. Let them get settled and then become citizens, okay? Because they are in dire need. But most of these people are not in dire need. They have no other need but to take out of somebody else's money. That's what they're here for. And they're not for anything good. And I'm not saying they're all bad people. I mean, it's like we're so fortunate to grow up in the United States. Maybe if this was some land of milk and honey, we're like, if we can just go there, we can just get everything given to us. Maybe, who knows? I mean, I would hope we're not like that. I hope we would not be looking to get something for nothing or trying to take something where we don't have the right. But they're not necessarily bad people, but we don't need to put up with that. So that's not Christian. It's not. And all these Catholic bishops coming out saying how wrong. I think some of them sued Trump recently, Fletcher.
Yeah, they did. They did sue Trump.
They sued Trump. That's some outrageous audacity. They're making the church look bad. I'm sorry, they're wrong, all the way wrong. And I'm so happy for bishops like Bishop Strickland, who said, wait, and others, not that he's not the only one, he may be the most outspoken, that you guys need to stop. You do not need to be criticizing Trump, let alone suing him for doing what a country has every right to do, which is protect its borders.
No, completely. Because you're basically saying, we're going to take your money because taxes are your money. And we're going to spend it, basically flaunt it. Because a lot of these people, I'm sorry, it doesn't reach who you think it reaches. And it's not really reaching it. I mean, when we look at all this kind of stuff, all the people getting upset at Doge and all this kind of things that are happening, the money's not going to where you think it's going. It's going to, a lot of it is going to scammers. A lot of it's going to people who are violent criminals and all this kind of stuff. It's not, it's literally like very much like a fraction. I mean, look, even like different states, they were doing all this homeless, houses and all stuff. Like none of it like gets built. Millions of dollars, and nothing happens. But this, I think, is a sign, because it shows that he knows that this is a lot of waste, and a lot of this waste can be used to help actually Americans.
And there's nothing wrong with that. You know what? There's nothing wrong. And I believe, I don't remember which bishop it was, Fletcher. I want to say it was Strickland, the one who was basically canceled, right? He's a bishop who was the presiding over an area of Texas, Tyler, Texas, for those who may know that, and was asked to step down. He's a traditional Catholic, one that is abiding by the truth and not going with every wind of wave of what's hot right now, the woke culture. He's not. And so apparently it seems that the word got out that he's some kind of dissident. He's not. He's a normal priest. He says nothing that's not part of what the truth is. But he said, you know what? If you are a husband, let's say, or a wife, whatever, right? Let's say husband, though. We'll do a traditional family here, right? Husband works. And you come and bring, I'm not saying women don't work. Women work at home or they work outside the home. But the point is this. Let's make it mom and dad go out to work. And they bring home some strangers they met to stay in their house, eat up their food, take over their kids' bedrooms. That is a nice thing you did, but it's disordered because you're supposed to first look out for your own family. It doesn't mean you don't help people who are poor, but you have to take care of those that are that's Catholic teaching. And Bishop Strickland reminded us of that.
Right. And he did speak about this, I think recently. I think he was saying that too many bishops are not really speaking out, properly on certain matters. and it's kind of shameful, you know what I mean? But it did happen. So I guess some U.S. bishops, the U.S. Conference of Bishop was suing Trump, is suing over what the bishop says unlawful suspension of funding for refugee programs in the United States.
Can you imagine? This is so thin. It's so thin. You're saying these. I mean, okay. Can we just dish on this for a minute, Fletcher?
Sure.
I mean, I know you want to read it. Should I wait? Let you read it, and
No,
then we can dish on it.
Go ahead. It doesn't matter.
I mean, the end of the day. Okay, I'll try to summarize. You can show me the rest of the page. Basically, it says that the United States Conference of Catholic Bishops, for those who don't know, that is an arm of the church. It's not the church. What it is an organization comprised of those who are entrusted as pastors over the different areas of the United States church. Okay, so they are supposed to answer to Pope Francis or whoever is the chief universal pastor of the church, right? That's what the Pope is. That's just a Latin and Italian term that means father or pastor, is meant to say he's the head of the church. And these bishops are like his under shepherds. And the United States Conference is basically like an organization. It's supposed to be spiritual, but it kind of delves into politics, as you see here. And now they're saying that it's not right for President Trump to suspend the money that's been taken from the taxpayers to pay for these pet projects involving quote unquote refugees. Again, most of these people are not fleeing from anything. They are running to get freebies. They're running to get grabbies, and they might be running for a better life. Nothing wrong with that, but you don't have the right. If I have a better life in Switzerland, I don't get to just sneak in there and be like, well, I know I'm gonna do better over here. That's not how this works. And right. These bishops have been on the take with this stuff. Bishop Strickland said that they are not caring about these refugees, because if they did, they would lobby among the people. We who go to church and pay our tithes, we pay our contributions, we give money to the poor boxes. They closed the church during the coup, and they didn't care because they get this money.
Right.
They were getting this money. So now they're bringing legal challenges like Catholic Charities, which is not to be trusted. And honestly, Catholic Charities, which you and I have given a lot to them over the years, Fletcher.
Yeah.
But they have abused it. They have used this money in many cases to overlook actual harm to people, including vulnerable people who are here illegally. Sometimes they are in a bad situation and they so-called are resettling them. What they're getting, I believe, is a kickback. What they're getting is money to fund all the crap they want to fund, and then, help the Democrats win their elections. And they never said anything about the deletion of babies, about the crimes that cry out to heaven. Yes, with people doing sexual things they should not be doing. Men and women being something they're not. We're not, transforming themselves. They don't. Oh, be quiet about that. But oh my gosh, you're going to stop giving money to these programs. It's outrageous that, as Bishop Strickland says, that you're saying that President Trump can't decide where money should go. You have a right to it. It's like if you were giving money to your neighbor. Let's say that you have a neighbor, you live in, a nice neighborhood, but the neighbor is having a hard time, and you were giving to them all this time. And then you say, you know what? My kids are getting older. I want to save for their college. I want to get a new deck. I'm not going to give to you anymore. And they're like going to sue you. It's like as though you have an entitlement. Wait a minute. I was nice to you. I was giving you something. And now you're saying, how dare you stop? I don't think this lawsuit's going anywhere. I think but what a shame on these bishops to do something like this, as though they actually care. Because you know what should have happened? I'm sorry, Fletcher, I'm going off like this.
No.
I said I was going to be demure. I made this pledge that I wasn't going to scream anymore. And here I am doing it. But Fletcher, honestly, they should have sent an email. We should have they know how to reach us when they want to. We should have all gotten an email, every Catholic that's registered in a parish, because that's how they got us all together, saying, hey, it looks like President Trump's administration is going to cease funding the refugees that we care so much about, the bishops do, we would like to ask you immediately, every family, to donate the most you can so we can continue to help them. That would be sincerity. But they know they can't get enough to live, nice, high off the hog as they are with whatever they're doing with this money. If they do that, it would be enough to take care of anybody who's poor. If you're poor and you're a refugee, you're happy with the cheese sandwich. You're happy with a tent. You're just happy to be out of your country where you were persecuted. That's what a refugee is. A refugee is a refugee. Like, I met a refugee from Somalia that was, his parents were killed in a civil war. That's a refugee, where his grandma and he ran into like a tent in a neighboring country to hide so that they wouldn't get killed. That's a refugee. You're not a refugee, and they're happy to eat whatever. They're just so happy not to be in danger. This kind of funding that they're getting billions of dollars that they're now suing Trump over. This is not about helping refugees. This is about lining pockets. I'm sorry. As simple as that.
No, it was. And Vice President Vance did talk about this recently. Let's see, says this right here, when he was sitting down.
Like bishops this week condemned some of the executive orders signed by President Trump, specifically those allowing immigration and customs enforcement to enter churches and to enter schools. Do you personally support the idea of conducting a raid or enforcement action in a church service, at a school?
Well, let me address this. Of course, if you have a person who is convicted of a violent crime, whether they're an illegal immigrant or a non-illegal immigrant, you have to go and get that person to protect the public safety. That's not unique to immigration. But let me just address this particular issue, Margaret, because as a practicing Catholic,
it's always funny with Margaret, It's like, let me tell you something, Margaret.
I was actually heartened by that statement. And I think that the U.S. Conference of Catholic Bishops needs to actually look in the mirror a little bit and recognize that when they receive over $100 million to help resettle illegal immigrants, are they worried about humanitarian concerns, or are they actually worried about their bottom line? We are going to enforce immigration law. We're going to protect the American people.
Yeah.
Donald Trump promised to do that. And I believe the U.S. Conference of Catholic Bishops, if they're worried about the humanitarian costs of immigration enforcement, let them talk about the children who have been sex trafficked because of the wide open border of Joe Biden.
Boom. And that's the main part, right?
And I love it because you know what? We as Catholics need to step up and stand out, because I think God is doing a reckoning of these bishops. It's really embarrassing to me. It's a shameful thing. You're gonna actually get up in arms for the first time. We haven't heard from you for 16 years. Where were you when they were putting all this stuff into practice? DEI, sex stuff, transforming stuff. You let Biden take communion. You had nothing to say about that when he literally advocated for the deletion of children at the sacrifice of Moloch. You had nothing to say about any of this. Kamala was out there saying crazy stuff like, if you believe in Jesus, don't come to this rally. You had nothing to say about that.
Right.
But now, wait a minute, you're going to cut off the funding to our quote unquote refugees? Okay, we got to get motivated now. But you know what? Go ahead.
I'm so happy you said this, because this was yesterday, Archbishop Vigano, who did set your actual point. Is that for years they've been most careful to keep the utmost silence in regards to the Democrat administration, even when matters of faith and morality have been at stake. But lo and behold, now it even goes so far as to challenge President Trump's executive decrees. It's just what.
Yeah,
what's going on? That's
suddenly you work there. That's true. The United States Catholic Conference of Bishops, that's what USCCB means, is completely silent about so many social ills, so many things that actually have hurt Christians, all Christians, and Catholic Christians in particular. Like closing the churches during the coup. There were so many churches that were trying to stay open who were being fined, or their members in trouble, and they had no support. They were just happy because they were still getting paid. That's what we were like, why don't they want the collection plate on Sundays? They didn't need us. They have all this money coming in. and they didn't care. They just went along with the establishment. I think it's a terrible thing to close down churches, especially when you have open casinos and, you know, all kinds of, you know, Home Depot and all these other things were open, liquor stores, all open. So I'm thinking, you know, that would be something maybe they would come out and talk about. No, very few of them. Mum's the word, but goodness knows you're going to take away the money that we use to line the pockets of our favorite things. Yeah, I agree with Archbishop Vico that this is mercenary. They don't care about the sheep. They're pandering, and it's about money and power. That's what this is about. They don't care about these people. Honestly, it doesn't seem like it. This is about how they've been making money. Everybody has their hand in the pot for these so-called, you know, migrant help. You know, we're going to help you do this. We're going to help you do that. In the meantime, we got to pay for this person's job that helps you do this, do that. So now they're funded. Great. And we're going to help you do this and do that and have this money for this program, which also, you know, helps me, you know, all those things of that nature.
Yeah. And there is another side to this, because some people are saying that, you know, that basically what the bishops are suing for is work already done, meaning they're putting in the bill of what they did, right? It's what was owed. This is Father Matthew saying that this is kind of with the, they're not suing for, we're not going to get more money, but
I'm not sure I understand it. Let me read it. Do you mind if I read it, Fletcher?
No, go ahead.
Okay, so this tweet is scandalous. It is encouraging Catholics to give less to the church because the government broke a contract with the USCCB and they are seeking justice. This sounds so self-serving as a statement. This doesn't sound like truth to me. Does it sound like truth to you, Fletcher?
Well, we're
you?
just giving both sides in the thing, right? I'm giving.
Well,
both
it doesn't
sides
sound like truth to me. It says the government has not paid the USCCB for work already done or in progress that can't easily be switched. The government or the USCCB can end the contract, so the USCCB is no longer doing refugee settlement, and I'm pretty fine with the USCCB doing it or some other organization doing it, but the government can't skip payment for work done under contract with them or leave refugees without help halfway through their settlement. They absolutely can. And I believe a court will say that they can. I think a fair court would be, because you're not entitled to it. If it's something you're giving, am I right? I mean, if you say that you're giving somebody something, even if let's say I'm helping my nephew out to get settled after college. And I'm like, you know what? I love you. I'm going to help you get settled. And I'm helping you pay your rent. I'm helping you pay your car note. I'm helping you get a car. I'm helping you pay your groceries. I'm paying your transportation. You can call me and I'll send you gas. And at some point, I'm like, you know what? I'm done. I'm done with that. You know, maybe I got married and my husband is like, and he says, wait a minute, you can't stop when I'm halfway through being settled. Wait, I don't care. I don't care, Margaret. I don't care, Margaret.
Actually, Margaret, well, it's funny that you should say that, because this just came down. This just like a couple of hours ago. So it looks like federal court smacks down.
Ursula looking like a smart lady right now.
What?
Ursula looking like a smart lady.
What? You take your Vita Women's pills.
Yeah, I'll take them.
Federal court smacks down bishops' demand to force Trump administration to fund a refugee settlement. So
refugee settlement. Yeah,
wow.
Look, it says, hey, bishops and Catholic Church, the judge's ruling is a message from God. Stop meddling in politics and stick to worshiping God. I agree. And I'm glad there's a major blow. How embarrassing. The apostles of Jesus Christ behaving this way, honestly, is more to me of an embarrassment than knowing that all those apostles of Christ ran away when he got arrested in the Garden of Gethsemane, you know, at the Mount of Olives, when, you know, the Roman soldiers came to pick him up to take him to be tried in the night and then crucified. And everybody ran. Only John came back and stood at the cross. That was an embarrassment and a scandal. This is to me, I don't know if Jesus agrees with me. It seems like it's same, because you don't even do this out of fear. This is more like Judas behavior. You're trying to get some money. That's an embarrassment. I'm embarrassed. It's a shame.
It's a shame. But we got Sashi in the house. Hey, what's up, Sashi? I was curious to see if any USA came to Malaysia. I checked, and it was mostly scrub. Did find a study by local groups in which NGOs would influence the government with regards to DEI. USA called Malaysia reformation. And you know what, Sashi, we did have, thank you for hanging out. We did see a lot of people. I can't speak for Malaysia, actually, but there are a lot of stuff that I've been hearing from my family in Brazil that a lot of USAID was used to fight against Bolsonaro in this past election and get Lula, who is the current president of Brazil, a flaming communist criminal, that elected. So
tell us how you really think, Fletcher.
What? I mean, what did I say? Something controversial? Desculpa toda gente do Brasil. But I do think that a lot of USA money was given to other things, like you said, Reformation Initiative. What the heck is that, right? How's that helping Malaysians, right? And a lot of this stuff is coming out that, you know, a lot of these funds were not really being used to help people. They were just being used for pet projects. And, you know, who knows, funneling money and all kinds of stuff. I mean, who the heck knows? That's what this whole thing with Doge is. It's killer, right? Because it's showing that this stuff is not cool. Because they've been using this for a while, and it's getting out of control. I know that that Vance spoke recently in Europe and was talking about free speech and all this kind of stuff, right?
Mm-hmm.
And all this stuff that's happening in Europe with free speech. And we know that a lot of these organizations were giving a lot of the USAID was going to a lot of some of these news organizations and all this kind of place like BBC and all this. And we're like, what the heck? But going into places like Germany and all that stuff. And recently, I guess you had German police raided a man who basically insulted people online and basically proven JD Vance right that they were doing this kind of things, not necessarily with USAID money, but it was being helped for it, right? And then they're like basically admitting it, you know? I mean,
yeah, I mean, I do think that's right. I mean, and not just were, they still are. They're absolutely prosecuting people for thought crimes. It's wrong to think the way you do. It's wrong to pray outside of places without even speaking, just standing and not even acting as though you're praying for the place that you're praying for, but actually even pretending that you're looking at the sky. What are you thinking about? What are you doing? Right. And like he says here with this one you just saw, if you could go back for a minute, you know, you were just showing us where it said the JD Vance was 100% right about Germany and the buffoons, and the media acted like he was crazy. 60 Minutes says, is it a crime to insult people online? German prosecutors, yes. It said 60 Minutes, is someone committing a crime if they repost a lie? Yes, it's a crime. It's a crime to have an opinion.
That's clear. Is it a crime to insult somebody in public?
Yes. Yes, it is.
And it's a crime to insult them online as well?
Yes. The fine could be even higher if you insult someone in the internet.
Why?
Because in internet, it stays there. If we are talking here face to face, you insult me, I insult you, okay, finish. But if you in the internet, if I insult you or a politician,
that sticks around forever.
Yeah.
If somebody posts something that's not true, and then somebody else reposts it or likes it, are they committing a crime?
Yeah, in the case of reposting, it is a crime as well, because the reader can't distinguish whether you just invented.
That's Germany.
That is insane. It is beyond. I mean, you know, this is not just our opinion. This is not just, well, we like the way we do things in America. This is basic rights of humanity. To say that you as a government get to tell somebody what they think, That's like on the level of God. Even God doesn't tell us what to think. He says, I set before you life and death, choose life. He says, I give you a choice about what to believe and what to think. He does not make you do anything. These people are saying, we're going to make you believe, not something that's part of the natural law, like thou shalt not kill, thou shalt not do this. They're saying, if you repost something we consider not right, if we say you did something that insults someone, are you serious? Insult. Guess what? It's pretty insulting things that Jesus said. Jesus said to some of his followers, not followers, actually those who persecuted him, that they were liars and they followed the father of lies. He said that they would, go to hell, or insinuated it. Are you saying that he would be arrested there because he insulted someone?
Yes.
That's outrageous. Nobody should live like that. That's completely not civilized.
Yeah, if we're saying that if Jesus was in Germany right now, went to a synagogue and started overturning tables, and whipping people, he would be arrested in Germany, probably as a terrorist, right?
Well, yeah, probably. Though I think if Jesus did that, all bets are off. If you start going into a place that, that's a different thing. But definitely, but they're saying even speaking,
completely,
even praying, not even taking action that might be considered disruptive. Just the fact that you believe something because you post it or you repost it, goodness knows. Sometimes, honestly, Fletcher, and I know I'm not the only one out there, I sometimes have been on social media and have liked a post or reposted it, and I don't agree. I just, I appreciate the person making the point. I, want to encourage their freedom of speech, even if I disagree with them. Sometimes I might be posting them because I like their enthusiasm, though I think they're wrong. I think that at least they're taking a stand. They're not being apathetic. Sometimes I might do it because I like the person. I like what they say, but I like the person, and I know they would appreciate the like. I mean, if something that's really, really bad, like, if they're promoting, the deletion of babies or, abnormal perversions, I probably wouldn't. But short of that, I probably would, even if I disagree, not because I am endorsing what they're saying. I'm saying, I don't know who it was that said, I may disagree with what you say, but I will fight to the death for your right to say it. It was a famous, I want to say one of the founders said something like that or quoted someone like that. It's like, I will violently disagree with you, but I will still fight to the death for your right to say it. And I think that's the spirit in which some of us like posts, even if we don't endorse them. But according to Europe, you can't do that. You don't have the right to say, you know what, I defend your right to speak, even if I disagree, because you cannot. They can't speak and you can't speak. That's evil.
No, yeah, you're basically reposting, and you're doing it.
Or just reposted it. That's the same for us.
It's the same.
Punishment for breaking hate speech laws can include jail time for repeat offenders. But in most cases, a judge levies a stiff fine and sometimes keeps their devices.
How do people react when you take their phones from them?
They are shocked.
Oh, you see that?
It's nice that they laugh.
Ha 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 ha.
That's
what?
That's tyranny.
Yeah,
that's
and
tyranny.
What would happen if a different government gets into power?
Yeah,
and now they're coming for you.
That's tyranny.
This is what's happening now in the United States,
and they would deserve it.
Yeah, and
what
now
was the other picture you had, Fletcher? I'm sorry, you didn't get to finish showing me. It was somebody standing.
Okay,
I'd like to see it.
So basically, this this nice lady was just arrested in Scotland, even though they just released hundreds of prisoners, violent prisoners, because they said the overcrowded jails in Scotland. Right, a lot of these people have committed heinous crimes against women, against the community, violent criminals. But hey, let's release them because this lady, all right, this lady is outside a deletion across the street from a deletion center, trying to save babies, trying to save women because she knows that the procedure, for one, is not completely safe and secure. And two, that they would probably regret this for the rest of their lives. And she's just standing there quietly praying with a sign that says coercion is a crime. I'm here to talk only if you want. Right? This is considered hateful.
Yeah, this is illegal.
This is illegal and it's
this
hateful.
is a thought crime. What kind of place? I would never ever visit Scotland. Scotland can kiss the dark side of the moon for as far as I'm concerned. You do not deserve my tourist dollars. I will never go visit you. I don't care what pretty castles you have. I don't care anything about your history, because you've come to the point in which you can literally stand with a sign saying, I'm here to talk if you want. And here's so you know, I can't coerce you. I'm letting you know I understand it's a crime. And she gets arrested for that. And you know what, Fletcher, you said something that these women will, regret the rest of their lives. I think a lot of them do regret it the rest of their lives. And those are the lucky ones, because the ones who put it out of their minds or think, oh, I'm proud of my deletion, those kind of people, they will regret it at the time of their death, when they stand in front of Almighty God and have to give an account for everything they did. And they never even had the chance to repent, because they were like, whatever, and didn't even think about it. So the best thing that can happen is they regret the rest of their lives. And that's a terrible regret. She's trying to save people. And even if she wasn't, I don't care if she said, you're horrible, I hope you die. I don't care what she said. That's called freedom of speech.
Right. And how about if she was holding up a sign that says, I don't know, something outrageous for the day, like Israel is committing genocide in Gaza, right? Or let's go with the other side and say, they're standing in front of a mosque saying, the Palestinians are killing Jews, right? Peacefully outside in silence. Now, think of how the world would be outraged and up in arms if the person doing that got arrested, right? And then
I think that
this is right.
Exactly. I think they could do that. I think it's just a matter of time. I think, look what Sashi says, one of our buddies here. He's saying that in Southeast Asia, you would go missing if the government has you in its sights.
Yeah, same thing in South America.
Well, here's the thing. You know what? At least they're honest about their tyranny. This Scotland is going to pretend as though it's still some kind of, civilized Western post-industrial, democratic, interesting, and all you are is a tyranny. You're just tyrants. Because if she can't say that, then she's a tyrant. You're putting someone in jail for a thought crime, for believing something that you don't agree with, for their religion, honestly, because a lot of religious people are against this kind of action and are taking the lead and disclaiming it. And you're saying that they can't do that. I think that's horrible. I would never go to Scotland. They can kiss whatever. They never see me over there. I don't want to go to a place that cares so little about freedoms.
No, they don't have any. It looks they're little
examples of what would be classed as breaching the act. Approaching someone, trying to persuade them not to access abortion services, surrounding people as they go in or out of the clinic or the hospital, handing out leaflets, religious preaching, silent vigils.
Silent vigils.
Silent vigils. Even
silent
being
vigils.
silent.
You're there silent.
They're disgusting people.
Miserable.
Disgusting, miserable people.
Silent vigil, so it can.
Silent vigils.
Well, you seem to believe you're not doing anything wrong, but there's obviously a reason why you're here and why you're in this area. You in particular, I am aware that you have.
They got to protect their murder factory so much.
Yeah, it's a buffer zone. It's a buffer zone, and I'm not going to show the disgusting people on X talking trash about this lovely woman of God, who's only there caring. For what? Because a lot of people think these people do things like, oh, she's just doing it to da.
No. What they feel,
go to jail for just.
Yeah, and you know why? Because they are guilty. They are guilty, nasty, guilty people. They're guilty people because they either did it or they encouraged someone to do it. That's why. That's you know what? If you think about The number of people who have gotten involved with that, something not quite half of women. I heard it was like 48% of women. It's probably a higher amount of those who are on Twitter or X. So you're seeing this. Those are the liberal women, and they have done this. And they can't come to God because they don't want to give anything to him. So they can't do what he wants. So they have no way of getting rid of their horrible guilt. And they don't understand why they would have guilt, because it's legal and because they think it's freedom for women. So you have cognitive dissonance there. So they have to then strike out. That's the only way they can feel better. There is no healing for them, because you can't get healing without Jesus, without Christ, without God. And so they will just go after other people like this lady and say vile things or do things like this guy here. Because you know what? They probably, I mean, unless they're threatened, they have to arrest this woman. A decent man is just going to be like, lady, can you just move along? I mean, I'm sorry. I don't, no offense, grandma, but like, you're not supposed to be out here. I can't, it's the law. I don't want to take you in. Can you just move along? No, he's going to be a friggin' like, night guard and actually read her from a piece of paper like an idiot. One day they'll be read back to him by Jesus. I would like to know what he says then. That'll be very interesting to hear.
I don't understand why you're here in this area again if you're not protesting the same thing.
I'm here to say that if anyone wants to come and speak with me, their own volition, they can.
Yeah. I would advise you to move away from this area yourself. I would advise you to
Am I committing an offence if I don't move away from the area?
Yes, I believe you're committing suicidal vigil, so I believe you would be.
I mean, really, two men? Is that shameful or what? I mean, they are asking her to move. I thought they were just arresting her. They are asking her to move. But if you listen to it, it's worse, though, because you got these two bullies. It's a little old lady. They should have just said their piece and then walked away. Instead, they're sitting there like two dummies and then arresting her. They're so stupid. I think is that the same lady or is it a different one?
No, that's her. Yeah, I guess they let her put her hat on. And they probably were waiting for a female constable.
They're so stupid. They're such dummies.
Scotland,
it's actually evil. They went
You went a long way from William Wallace.
They went so far from that. They are so far from that. And that's what happens though, Fletcher, because listen, you all, when we're not here to be preachy or anything, but when you lose track of God, when you stop worshiping God, this is the kind of stuff you fall for. A lot of people want America to be less religious. Even some on the right are like, well, we'll be conservative, but not religious. But guess what? You don't really have conservatism without some religion, because you got to have some due north. You need some moral authority, some moral rigor. And if you stop, you also don't get the benefit of God's protection from this kind of nonsense. And that's why freedom of conscience, freedom of speech, those are very much religious concepts. They do come from Christianity. Christianity has imported a lot of these concepts all around the world. Look at the places that first adopted them. They were in countries that were in many ways Christian monarchies. They were Christian places. They got far away from that, but that's where a lot of these things came from, including women having rights, giving rights to children. A lot of these are really Christian concepts. They said that in ancient world, after Christianity, after Jesus went to heaven and people were following it, they used to, in Greece, the Christian followers would go rescue babies from the pyre. People who didn't want their babies, which has happened for a long time, they didn't have the deletion services we have now. They would throw their babies on this fire, like outside the city where they put garbage. And the Christians, this was considered normal. It was not a big deal. Just like, the deletion factories. And Christians would go risk their lives, jumping in there, grabbing these babies. Like, what are you guys doing? They're like, because God loves everybody. That's us. We brought that to the world. So Scotland, you got away from God, and now you have this scourge. You have a scourge of tyranny. That's where it's coming from. You lost wisdom. See, what fear of the Lord is the beginning of wisdom. You don't have any wisdom. Look at this. You're putting an old lady in, the whole world looks at this as you're stupid. Vice President Vance, honestly, he made them look stupid too with his speech.
No, it did, because they were saying that this doesn't happen. And then on the same day that he was talking, this happened.
Right.
Yeah, it has become a religion. That's the thing. I think it's actually even more than that, because it's not even like atheism. This is some kind of amalgamation of the idea that if you don't have a right to murder a child, that you should, you're having this pedestal, like a woman cease to be, right? You have all this Handmaid's Tale stuff. And it was funny because we were watching this lady make a joke the other day about how, she was waiting. She was mad that she had to go to work because she thought that when Trump got elected, all the rights would be gone and she would have to, be a stay-at-home mom, you know what I mean? And had to get married, and, and that's all it is. And it's, well, it didn't happen, So I think we have to be vigilant for something like this. And I do agree with you, Sasha. It's a form of atheism, but I know a lot of atheists that would probably condemn this, but this is like it's become a known religion almost. Like, if you can't do this, you can't do that, you've amalgamated, right? It's the alphabet mafia mixing with the babies being deleted to Moloch, mix in with this whole like belief that women and men are exactly the same and not able to do different things, like they're just as strong and just as fast.
I think that Sashi makes a point, though. I think atheism has become like religion for a long time now, and they are very much for it. I do believe that, though, in this case, it's unprincipled atheism. There are some atheists that have interesting, thoughtful ideas. They are questioning. I don't think necessarily that's always bad. I don't think being an atheist is good at all, but I don't think that someone thinking and questioning is bad. I think they should be not comfortable staying in that. They should go quickly to learn more, to read more, read the theology, read the physics, read people who believe in God, who have discovered these amazing things. Don't be a lazy atheist, right? Like, you should go further. But these people that you just saw, this is tyranny. And let's think about this for those of you who might not be sure about the power of prayer. Why are they so scared of this lady out there praying? Why are they even to the point, as someone was saying, when Vance was saying his speech, they said there's some, I think it's in England, where if you know your neighbor is praying, even I think it's Scotland actually, even in their home, that's a crime. You can't pray against you cannot pray against the AB, deletion. Even in your home, you can't gather and do it. You can't bring people to your house and do it. All of that is illegal. So what does that tell you? That means we're effective, you all. All of you praying, I know a lot of you out there have been praying against this, and honestly is what brought about the end of Roe v. Wade. It brought about the end of a lot of these clinics that have literally gone bankrupt and have ended. There's been a lot of them. Prayer is powerful. That's why they don't want you doing it. Think about that. They don't, and guess what? Christian prayer is very powerful in particular, because you don't see them going to mosques and you don't see them going to synagogues. No offense to our brothers of both of those, Crescent and older brothers, but who are they mostly coming for? It's us. It's a lot of Christians who pray, and they don't want that because it's effective. It's effective. Always remember that, everybody. Remember how effective prayer is, because look, the government doesn't want you to do it. The tyrannical governments, and that's true here too. It's not as bad as Scotland, but remember, we followed and covered the pro-life people who were put in prison that President Trump pardoned in his first couple of days in the office. They also were praying. It wasn't as serious as this one. Like, they weren't just holding signs. They were a little bit more, in your face about it. They were closer to the door, I think, and praying and stuff like that. which, you know, might be walking the line, but it is still at the end of the day is praying. And that's scary to the powers that be. They're afraid of that.
Completely. But I mean, there's a bunch of stuff that's happening all over the world. Even Sashi was saying, as a Hindu, even find extremist Hindu weird. Hindus was never about telling you what to believe. You find your own path. There's no a compulsion to force a belief in the individuals. Yeah, and we do see like a lot of this like extremes, and the reason we call it out is because horrendous things can happen if you don't call it out on all sides. Just, you know, this just happened. So 70 Christians, 70 have been found beheaded by Islamic militants church in the Democratic Republic of Congo. So the suspect are, you know, they're tied to ISIS, approached the homes, urging them to get out and make any noise. They captured 20 Christian men and women. Later, locals tried to organize rescue. They surrounded the village and captured 50 more believers. And this is a complete atrocity, not being told by the mainstream media. Like they don't care. I mean, this is from smaller countries like Hungary are calling for this to be something to be done about this. This is from Hungary. The state secretary talked about, you know, reacted to this. He's like horrified to learn certain Christian martyrs beheaded terrorists in the church in Kasanga, Democratic Republic of Congo. Hungary stands solidarity with the persecuted Christians, but we need more of the world needs to recognize and act against Christian persecution. I mean, any prosecution is bad, but we seem to not hear anything about the Christian persecution or those that are getting killed. Just because there's so many of us doesn't mean this stuff doesn't happen, and we got to call it out. I mean, this is insane. You know, I mean, this is just crazy. This just happened like a little bit ago, and nobody's talking about it. You know, this is just crazy because it's where is the outrage from the media? Where's the movie stars, right, standing, or where's the protest on the streets when this happens? Right.
It's so true. It's very sad. I think just right now we're going to say, dear Lord, please have mercy on the souls of those who were martyred. We know that you are going to give them a crown. And we do pray for our enemies. We pray that they would come to know the light of your truth. We also do pray not only for your mercy, but for justice. We pray that you bring justice to the people, and that you would take them out of power, and that you help the people who can get these people out of power, and that that all those who are watching who are able to do something will, including our governments, because we are always running to help people, but you never help anybody. And like, if they're, you know, just Christian people who need help, it's like, I guess unless they had oil, you know, we don't care, you know, to help out, but we do claim to help others. And I think these are, you know, I read that there's more martyrs in the church now than there were even at the time of Christ, when Christianity was so-called illegal at that time. It became more so. The 20th century has had so many martyrs. And like you said, Fletcher, you know, mainstream media is not interested in reporting on this as an atrocity. We know we hear about so many things happening, but they never mention these kinds of things, and they do happen alarmingly frequently.
No, it's just incredible, and nobody's covering it. You know, the problem is that nobody's talking about it, nobody's covering it. These are just small things. We're
gonna say goodbye to Sashi. Sashi, thank you for joining us. I know you have to get back to work. It means a lot that you join us.
Yeah, thank you so much. I really appreciate it. But no, this is just crazy.
It's very sad. It's very sad. And you know what? God bless them for standing firm in their faith, and for those who tried to rescue them, because what happened was these monsters took some people, and then others were trying to organize a rescue, and then they got retaliated against and took them too, and then they got all beheaded. And you know, it's by the religion of peace, you know, pretty much. They say, we can't say, I think they're a part of it, although to be honest, I think they're rebels. So I don't know if they're actually devout. Yeah, I don't know if they're devout, you know, whatever.
Well,
Stay,
it's
you know.
basically ISIS. They're in control of those things.
Yeah.
I mean, so far, a lot of these so-called rebel groups, I don't know how rebel they are, but, thousands have died in Congo. But, you know, the fact that, I think the past leader of the Democratic Republic of Congo is a billionaire now. I think that you know his daughter's also billionaire all of a sudden, which is how did that happen? But
talk
you know,
about tyranny and
we need more
corruption.
Doge.
You really can't have. I mean, the corruption in Africa. I mean, that's what the problem is. You have these horrible leaders. And there's a lot of nice people, a lot of good people, but a lot of these horrible leaders, you can't even really get aid to these people because the aid is taken before it can even get to the people. It's so corrupt.
Yeah, and things. I mean, there's all kinds of stuff that's happening about people just degrading other people. It's not just. I mean, we cover like on the religious aspect of it, but I think there's a lot of stuff that's happening on the degradation side, and we always kind of say that, hey, it's just oh look, it's the white guys and all this kind of thing. But there's a lot of crazy stuff happening now, and we've talked to some people that are dealing with this. But there's a thing going on in South Africans right now where they're basically saying that white people are not even human, right?
The problem that
really
Africans have right now is that we don't understand white people. White people are inferior species to us. We are Homo sapiens. They've got Neanderthal blood in them. This is the science. And this is not science that was done by black people. It was done by them. You understand? Abu Clive W. Lewis, they were eugenicists. They studied this and they realized that they're inferior to blacks. The white population is shrinking and shrinking and shrinking and shrinking. For us, it makes no sense to descend into the savagery that they have. Whatever land that they're holding on to, either way, their numbers are dwindling. Whatever leadership that they had is dying out as well. And you know about wealth disappearing after the third generation that it's passed down to, So they're on the last generation. We're dealing with the weakest whites that the world has ever seen. So we expect to have Ubuntu, humanity. Unfortunately, by the strictest definition of what a human being is, white people are just below human beings. You are negotiating with an animal, a wild dog that you're trying to train to be tamed, to be.
Are you serious? This is like, this is for
do
real?
So we're
Come on.
expecting Ubuntu from them. We're like, you stole our land, you butchered our people and everything else, and we just want justice. We're not out for your blood. We're not chopping off your heads. We're not doing anything. Why don't you guys understand that? Why don't you guys have Ubuntu? Why don't you guys have a heart? They don't, because they're incapable of that. You cannot expect the same behavior of a human being that you're expecting of a dog.
There you go. You can't.
What? I mean, that's stunning. I need some time, Fletcher. You just throw some crazy stuff at us and then ask us to respond. I've never seen anything like that. I have heard something like that, but that goes way back. I think there was some book that was written during the time of Malcolm X. I think it was influential on him, that said something similar to that, such as, white people came from this island. I mean, we probably shouldn't even give it any airplay by talking about it. It's pure nonsense. But this is astonishing. Are we going full circle? So now we have black people talking about white people not being human, which is what they said about us.
No,
during
it's
slavery. I mean, that's crazy.
Now we've gone full circle. We go full circle in it. I think this was a leader in one of the political parties there.
Is a white man. So these people, when you want to hit them hard, go after a white man. They feel a terrible pain because you have touched a white man. Not because Mashaba and Soli will not be touched. They will be touched, don't worry. But we are starting with this whiteness. We are cutting the throat of whiteness.
There's also another politician.
I don't understand. Do you understand what he was saying, Fletcher? I don't really
I think it was saying that it was going to cut the throat of whiteness or something like that. And it's part of it's more like the stuff that's happening in South Africa has just been crazy.
For each 1% that is being killed by the taxi industry, which is 5 white people
By the world represent, you kill 5 white people, you kill 1 of us, you kill 5 of you, you kill 1 of us, you kill 5 of you, you kill 1 of us, kill 5 of you.
And it's more of this whole like inciting violence, and you can see how this can happen if we have people basically saying that, hey,
they're not human.
You're not human.
You know what?
If you're not human, right?
Yeah. I mean, honestly, I'm gonna need some time to process this, because the one thing that from our experience as Black Americans has been that, if you read the literature, if you look at abolitionists, both Black and white, people like Frederick Douglass, for example, or, look at white abolitionists, the one thing they said was that we have a common humanity. We said that, when Blacks were being told or being said that, you justify slavery because they're not really human, right? They're like so forth, and they don't have souls, or they don't have this. And then it took Christian people to say that's really not how God operates. That's not true. And we need to stick to what the truth is. That's why, again, religion is so important. It's kind of like a due north. But I always assumed, because of Blacks having been in this inferior position, that they had more compassion, and that they would say, when it turns around, because that's what some people said. They said, well, when we let slaves go free, they're going to just take it out on us. And the Black people who were involved in the abolitionist movement were like, absolutely not. We saw what it did to you. It made you less human to enslave and to make you less holy. We don't want that. We want to, go for what's positive, what's good, what's righteous, what's loving. We will learn to forgive. It's not about trying to get revenge. That's insane. That's a losing proposition. So I'm really surprised to see in South Africa, after having gone through apartheid, that they would come and then try to do the same to other people. I mean, haven't you learned? Don't you see that the same way someone treated you, you don't treat? That's not Christian. And it makes me think that, was Christianity ever really did it ever take off in South Africa? Because if you believe in God, you have to believe that divinity is in all of us, that God made us, each and every one of us, in his image and likeness. No, not like a dog. Dogs are great, but he made humans, only humans, in his own image and likeness. That's a very, very high regard for, no matter how bad a person is, there is still hope for them. So I'm really surprised. I did not expect to hear that. That doesn't sound like what I thought the traditional guard of South Africa was like. I mean, does Nelson Mandela, was that something he would have agreed to? I mean, killing and saying that, they're not human. It's a little bit strange. Now, I don't think that's completely unjustified. The only thing that I can understand, which I don't say I understand any of it, but to say, if you behave in a way that is inhumane, for someone to say that's what you mean, you don't mean it literally, like they're not human. You're saying when people behave in a way that's not kind, that's a kind of lack of humanity, which is how they're acting. I think they're acting not human. If they mean that, I can understand that. When we see someone who's hurt a child, I think of them as, you're not human. But if they mean like literally, like they're not, they have flesh and blood like a person, they talk like us, but they're by virtue of their white skin, they're not human. That's quite evil. That's bizarre. I'm surprised by it, and I'm scared by it, actually.
Yeah, and I was
don't
surprised.
Understand that.
We had a few people send me that, and I was a little bit taken back. I mean, I've heard some of this rhetoric before, and I think it goes along the line where people start doing the whole, like we said, not looking at each other as Americans, but looking at each other or other. You know what I mean? You're not, even like in South Africa, you're not seeing yourself as South African. You're seeing yourself as, I'm this South African, and a quantifier. When you start having those things, then it's easier to divide, right? It's easier to say, well, I'm this kind because I'm a better South African, I'm a better American, I'm a better Argentinian, whatever it is. And you start.
Yeah, I'm sorry. Go ahead.
Yeah, you start cutting away. right? You start separating.
I think something. I mean, honestly, it sounded to me. I mean, I'd have to watch it again. It's my first time ever seeing or hearing that. I haven't seen or heard that, but it sounds to me almost like a kind of demonic, activity, because you have to be really. It starts to be like some kind of hallucination frenzy for you to start, whipping yourself into a frenzy about trying to kill another group of people. You know what I mean? Or to say that, oh, you can't talk to them because they're like, we're superior. I think it was, I don't know if it was Haile Selassie. There was an Ethiopian leader who gave a talk in front of the United Nations, I mean, years ago. In fact, Bob Marley made a song about it. He said, it's such a beautiful song. I'm sure you all know. I think it's called War. And it says that, as long as one group of people thinks they're better than another, everywhere is war. It's war in the East, war in the West, war down South, war up North. It's, everywhere war. And I don't think the South Africans are really understanding what they're doing. If you think it's okay to turn on these people that you might still have resentment for, yes, apartheid was not good. And at that point, the Dutch were in charge. But you've taken back your country, not always for the better, many people say. But if you say you want to exact revenge, that's war. You're never going to be happy. There's no goodness to come from that. That's not reasonable. And what we just saw was scary. Now, I heard that President Trump had said he was going to take white South Africans into America, that they could have refuge here because so many have been the victims of violence or having their properties taken. Have you heard about that? I heard Elon Musk was saying that, he was encouraging it as well.
He is
we'll look back to, yeah, exactly right. He's South African, right?
Right. Yeah. And I think he still has family there. So.
But I also heard I saw a video of a white South African saying that, that wasn't, I think they might appreciate the gesture, but they don't want to leave because that's their home too. A lot of people don't want to leave their homes. It's the same thing we see with we're not supposed to say the word of the people who live where Christ was born that are having the fight with those who are from the older brothers who have a home. Okay.
Yeah.
Where, President Trump has proposed moving them, to nearby countries and reformulating that area. I think the problem you're going to have is that people are very attached to their land. They are. And I think the South Africans, white and black, but particularly whites, which are now under attack, are close to their land. And so, but although people said that it would be good if they did, because if they are farmers, which I think they are, a lot of them are farmers, we could use more farming here. We have lost a lot of, home farms, small time farms. So we'll see how this plays out. But I don't know. Are they nuts? I've never seen it. It sounds nuts. I'm hoping that's just isolated. I think maybe that's just, but it doesn't take long for one idea to be passed along to others and then proliferate. So
yeah, completely. I guess what I was showing is the extreme, because people were talking like, have you seen this? Have you seen this? And you have this because you have all these theories like the replacement theory, a lot of things that we hear about on kind of like the right, which it's funny because being from the right, that's for one thing Catholic, which makes it a different right. Sorry, guys. Especially since Catholics, we have so many brothers and sisters all over the world that you put into perspective. It's like, yeah, it's different. But not only that, being of mixed whatever blood or however caste system.
If you I mean, I'm just still trying to process what I saw. If you treat people like that, it makes you less. It really makes you less. Is that clear to people? If you treat people, this is different. I mean, you have a right to self-defense, but that's not what they're talking about. If you treat people as though they are not made in the image and likeness of God, it makes you less.
Completely. Right? I mean, that's
so,
just, that's just a given.
It sounds like there's no grown-ups in the room. You know, South Africa is going to have to grab a hold of somebody with some sense. And my understanding is that the country is not doing that well compared to what it could be. And that with the new government, they have, you know, somewhat retarded their progress, that they are not good at this. And it seems to me they were spending so much time fighting revolution, which, you know, they had to. They were basically like enslaved in some ways. But now you're out, you don't have a plan. It's one thing to fight for revolution, but you have to also know how to run a country.
Right. And you have to
And
find out who you have to find out who's pushing these buttons, right? Who's got the most to gain from a divided South Africa, from a divided Africa? Because there's a lot of corporations, there's a lot of people out there trying to get some of those resources that they don't really care about, you know, the African nation. They don't care about the people. They just want the resources, and you keep everybody fighting against each other, and that's what's going to happen. I mean, we saw it here in the United States where everybody's like running back and forth, and meanwhile, you know, the majority, I think, of the pork farms were owned by Chinese, and all this farmland that now we got to figure out who is actually owning it, and all these corporations buying up houses. All of a sudden, Americans can buy houses, or you know, there's a lot of stuff in the backgrounds that now we're kind of starting to see come to light, right?
Right.
And I think a lot of this coming to the light is what's angering some people, because we do want to see where the heck a lot of this stuff is coming from, right? And that's why I feel like with this whole Doge thing, it's winning, because I mean, it's just going crazy. I mean, today I did a short recently about Elon Musk gifting the president of Argentina a Doge chainsaw, because he had a chainsaw when he was pushing for the presidency, and I think that helped his campaign. But he was always had like little figurines with him with a chainsaw, and it gifted him like a Doge chainsaw. But this Doge chainsaw in this Doge movement, I think it goes beyond America, because everybody's kind of calling for, hey, Doge, come to my country, right?
Yeah.
And we've seen a lot of this. Like, I see this as American innovation. There was a time when, I mean, I always heard about America as like, man, America can do everything, right? And I think that's more along the lines of the whole Make America Great Again, and with this Doge thing, is that American exceptionalism was known throughout the world. The rock and roll, I mean, or, you know, fast cars, that kind of thing. It just became like, yeah, you know, oh, Ferrari has some fast cars, but, you know, Ford got together. It's like, wow, we got to make it faster. You know, it came a time when it's like Russia was doing rockets. Let's do more. You know, it became like, let's do something greater than, because we're badass, right?
Right.
And we came to the United States, and we had this realization, like, oh, this is great. But then all of a sudden, everybody's like, nah, you know, America's terrible and all this stuff. And it's like, yeah, but look at this. They created a system to fight government waste, and now everybody's asking for it. And I for me, myself, I felt a little proud, right? Because I'm like, hey, all the countries saying this is great. It's like they should like, you know, franchise this. You know, send 19-year-old nerds over to the country to figure out where's all those waste going, right?
Right, exactly.
And
I think it's true. It's hard to argue with it, and that's what's so funny about these judges who are rejecting requests, you know, and to get access, when it's clearly that, you know, Musk is working for the executive branch and is been, you know, deputized, or at least, you know, agentized, right? You know, it's not maybe a proper agency that has to go through Congress or whatever, but basically is like, if I direct someone to paint my house, right? Because I'm not able to paint, I'm still in charge. I'm telling them what to do, but they're acting like somehow he's this rogue operation and he needs to go through all these channels, when all he's trying to do is assist the executive branch to know, with his expertise in computer science, so he can find the data, because it's hard to find. And a lot of it's convoluted, with his team also of these like computer wizards. And, you know, to help Trump, who's not a computer wizard, and also, even if he were, wouldn't have time to sit there as he's running the country and going everywhere to, find out where's the pork, right? Where's the money going? Why are we so broke? And the fact that judges, so-called judges, are rejecting it on the basis of, well, it's not, privacy or whatever, things they have never shown interest in with people before, it seems. It's crazy. And I think you're right. I think this is something a lot of people can get behind, because we all want to save money. And we want our tax dollars to actually mean something and not go to, study transformative, monkeys in the forest, or give prophylactic equipment to terrorists. We'd rather, that's not our interest. And that's where the money was going. And it's, you know what? Recently, though, Fletcher, there was a judge who had like a change of heart. I think it was Judge Tanya. I think her last name is hard to say. I think it's like Chukdan or something.
Mm.
And she was going after Trump for a long time, it seems. She's no fan of the Orange Man. But after all these judges have been like stopping Doge, she basically said, I think there was some attorneys general that filed some other lawsuit again, trying to block it. And she was like, listen, you don't have a case, basically. So I don't know if people are starting to wise up that, because I think this is going to be destined to the Supreme Court. And it's going to probably be a slap down, just like the U.S. bishops got slapped down. And I think maybe some judges, even those most leftists, or because she did chide Trump, like, this is alarming what he's doing. But at the same time, she said, okay, you're not going to probably win this. So maybe the tide is turning. I don't know. But yeah, I think Doge is something that everybody will want, because who doesn't want to know where the money that you pay is going?
Completely, because you want this to gather steam, because it's just government waste. It's people getting excited to do stuff with government waste. I mean, how the heck do you get people excited to battle government waste?
Right.
That's the kind of thing. I mean, like I told you, like with Millie and thing, they're doing crazy things, like with Doge chainsaw, but that's kind of like the joke. The joke is you're making it fun. You're making uncovering government waste fun, right? And I think that it's just helping.
I mean, he's a little nutty.
He is a little bit nutty, but I mean, this is like just like an hour ago, right? Doge canceled this grant, right? That's $324,000, right? For increasing the programming for integrated pest management. What the heck is that?
Yeah.
So make sure that somebody that looks like you, comes to gets rid of your mice or something. And it's the University of Iowa. It's like somebody's getting this thing. Somebody's dealing with this. I mean, this is a lot of money. For what? This is why they're upset. They're upset.
I mean, and this is really just the tip of the iceberg. And this is at least something that is in our own country, because what we heard about these kinds of initiatives that we would pay for even in other countries.
No, completely. There's all kinds of stuff. I mean, we would be here all night talking about all the things that, kind of are doing. I mean, it's just crazy. I mean, some of the stuff that they found, $42 million to Johns Hopkins to drive social and behavior change in Uganda, right?
Right.
20 million for fiscal federalism in Nepal. 19 million for biodiversity conservation in Nepal. 1.5 million for voter confidence. We want to give him confidence in Liberia. It's 14 million social cohesion in Maui. I mean, this is crazy. This is, the 10 million for Mozambique voluntary medical marriage circumcisions. It's like, what the heck is this? Where's that?
And yeah, and even this, I mean, you're talking about, I mean, I don't want to add it up, but 14 million, 486 million, 21 million, 2.3 million, 32 million, 10 million, 10 million, 10 million, basically 40 million, 25 million, 520 million. You mean this is, and again, this is the tip of the iceberg. We're trillions of dollars in debt. You can see how that could happen. I mean, this is a lot of money. Not to mention, the bishops try to line their pockets with stuff that they say is for the refugees. No offense, but that's more money we could use to put together for something that would actually help us.
It's just insane. I mean, nobody should be against this. Nobody should think and say, "Oh, this is outrageous." I think the only people who are saying that are the people, like you said, they're trying to line their pockets, right? They're not being genuine, and I do think that it's just, come on, it's just a shame. It's just a shame to have this going on for so long and nobody.
No one even looked at it. This is like really good on Trump's part that he actually took care of something that honestly is. But listen, we've said before that Democrats are people that you really can't endorse, you all. You just can't like them. You have to be careful. You have to consider being an independent or being a Republican or be Green Party. Don't be a Democrat, because they're the only ones who are saying this is evil, that finding this money and stopping it being used in ways that are just absurd, like the Civil Service Center. Are you telling me $32 million to the Prague Civil Society Center is more important than maybe your kid's school getting like a basketball court, for there to be parks in your neighborhood, for the hospital near you to be better? All the money that this can do to make your life better, you think it should go to do medical male circumcisions for people in Mozambique? They can't handle their own business. That's insane. So, and the so-called participatory process in Moldova, like we should care about that. I mean, come on. Or the money for the environment. I mean, come on. 520 million for something that honestly, what are you going to be able to do? You're going to stop the sun from shining. I mean, come on. What we need is, a lot of work for people who are poor in this country. And the only people who are mad about this, look at who's mad. It's the left wing.
Right.
They are mad about this, the left wing and the Catholic bishops. Our people.
It's a shame. It's a shame. But we did have.
Yes. I just think that we need to consider the source. The fact that people are mad about this says more about them than about what Trump's doing.
No, completely. I fully agree. But we did have some good news today also, that John Ridge just celebrating because Kash Patel became our FBI director. And it has some people wondering, this is my buddy Black World Bound, and he's doing the Margaret. With today confirmation, Kash Patel makes history by becoming the first ever Black FBI director, the same way Kamala Harris was the first ever Black vice president. So yeah,
heck yeah! I'm going to be
taking that as
that.
a win, or are we?
We absolutely are, Fletcher.
Fake
news. He is the first ever Black FBI director. He is Black. I mean, when I look at him, I see a Black man. Y'all saw a Black woman when you saw Kamala Harris. I agree. I'm psyched about that. I didn't get to see him in his confirmation hearings. I'll have to go back and watch that.
Mm-hmm.
I heard it was good.
Yeah, it was pretty good. I was just, I mean, everybody's just been going crazy about it because I think it's gonna be, fun, right? We're gonna have a good time. We're gonna. So I think a lot of people are excited about it. People are already doing like congratulation videos and stuff like that of him going into the FBI offices
That is
Yeah,
funny.
so, Cash Patel's coming, y'all.
That is really funny.
Don't mess around, son. Don't mess around.
That is amazing.
So yeah, that was some good news that we had on today.
Praise the Lord.
Amen, amen. And we do have some other good news that we want to kind of go on. So we talked about this a few months ago, letting you guys know that Carlos Acutis, if you guys don't know, he's soon to be a saint. And right now he's blessed. A lot of miracles from people who have prayed to him. He is a young man who passed away and was fully devoted to the Lord, brought people over. He's what some people are saying is going to be the patron saint of video games and the internet, because he was really into playing games and also evangelizing through the internet. And we're finally going to get his documentary that's already got a release date, which is Carlos Acutis Roadmap to Reality, is going to open in theaters nationwide April 27 and 29. So for all the people who say, hey, we never get good stuff to go check out in the movies, here you go. Take your mama, take your auntie, take your cousins, right? We all got buttload of cousins. So this is going to be the upcoming release. It's going to be April 27, 29. Check out your area. Maybe ask your theater if they're going to show it. And maybe if you talk enough people into your, your area, get your parish involved to maybe start requesting to different theaters for showing, start getting you tickets if you know it's playing. And I think we should all push this out there, especially those of us who are in social media, that this needs to get out, and we want more people to know about him, and we want more people to come to the Lord for his witness to us. And I think this is great. This is so awesome. And I can't wait for this to go out. I'll be first in the theater. What do you think, Ursula?
Yeah, Blessed Carlo Acutis is a wonderful young intercessor. People have asked him to intercede for the Catholics. We believe in the one body of Christ. So even those who have gone ahead of us are still alive in Christ. They don't die. They die in the flesh, but they are fully alive. In fact, they are more alive than here, because they're seeing God face to face. And so the same way you might ask your neighbor to pray for you, that you know is a holy person, the prayers of a righteous person availeth much. Prayer of a righteous man availeth much. We also consider our aunties to pray for us here and the ones who've gone on. And many people have found great solace and also great efficacy in those kinds of prayers. We think about when Mother Mary went to Jesus and said they have no wine. And then he said, okay, fine. I'll commit this miracle for you because you asked me. The people who needed the miracle, the couple who ran out of wine, didn't ask Jesus directly, but they asked Mary, and Mary went to Jesus. It's not saying you can't go directly. Sometimes people misunderstand Catholics. That's not the case. It's just the same way that, again, you might ask your mom, please pray for me. It doesn't mean you can't pray for yourself. You're just saying, you're asking for backup. And so when we say Carlo Acutis, we pray to him, we don't mean like he's God. No, we're saying that he's a very holy kid who actually was very, as Fletcher said, very interested in video games, lived a very holy life. In fact, when the church went to investigate, because before they canonize someone as a saint, they do this exhaustive investigation of their life and works, which we have mentioned before on this channel. They were expecting for like a 15-year-old boy, it's going to be kind of a mess on his computer what we're going to find. And it was just all stuff about God. It was all about Jesus. It was all about, faith and the Bible and religion and like the Holy Eucharist, communion. I mean, he was obsessed with it. And the kids that, spoke about him was like, he would break up fights. He was, defend bullies. He would talk about Jesus all the time. He would try to get his own parents to go to church who were not churchgoers. And he died young. And honestly, his mom got a vision from I don't know if it was an angel, or I think it was another saint in heaven, maybe Saint Francis of Assisi, saying that, oh, this young man has a high place in heaven. God's very pleased with him. So a lot of people who have asked, in order to become a saint, you do have to have documented miracles, and there are, that the church is exhaustive about it. They use like a scientific method. They bring in atheistic scientists to do it, and they were all verified. And so he's on his way to being a fully canonized saint, which means he's ripe for the plucking to ask favors of, especially people are asking when it's like, you know, please pray for me with my computer. Please pray for me for this game. Please pray for the young. And Fletcher says, yes, he has a movie coming out. And absolutely, I think, Fletcher, we should go be the first in line to see this film, because films that highlight goodness and people who do not go with the normal decayed modern culture, you know, that has degraded people so much, especially the young, is something to be celebrated. So I'm really happy that, you know, they're doing a movie. And I agree with you, Fletcher. If you're in a city that doesn't have it, ask for it, you know, because I think it's going to probably be really good.
Yeah, and this is going to be through Phantom Entertainment. You might know them. They're basically the people who put out, like, if there's like sometimes you see them when they do like, one-time showing of this old movie or a classic, or sometimes, you know, they have concerts or operas or plays. So basically contact your local theater. Please get your parish involved, because I think a lot of kids are gonna enjoy this, because, you know, he's one of them. It's kind of different when you see yourself, right? It's kind of different when you see somebody. I mean, don't people say representation matters? So this is a young kid who was holy, and basically we want to encourage that. And like I said, contact your local theaters. If they're going to play it, it's going to be in theaters April 27 and 29 only. But, you know, only is one thing. But we know good and well that only can change if something happens, right? And, you know, we do believe in miracles. And so maybe it could last a little bit longer if you guys, you know, help it out. Really looking forward to this. Really hoping that we can get out there and actually see something good, something that's going to be edifying, and something that's going to really
and
help.
I think that you should really bring your, I think you know, Fletcher mentioned bringing your aunties, your cousins. You should really try to bring young people, everyone under 21, because he's really inspiring to them. Because what's amazing about his life is that he was a normal kid. He wasn't, although we made him sound like, you know, he was this little angel. He was an angel, but he was a normal boy, played sports, rode his bike a lot, loved to play video games, although he was very disciplined about it. He told his mom she didn't have to even stay behind him. He said, you know, God has work for me to do. I have my chores, I have my schoolwork. So I will do no more than an hour a day, even though he loved it, you know, but that's the kind of person he was. He was very disciplined. He was very holy, but he was very normal. So I think a lot of people think, you know, oh, to be a Christian, you've got to be a little bit, you know, different and weird. Yeah, in a way, we're a peculiar people. The Bible says that, but we are in the world, right? We're not of it, but he was in the world. He was a fully normal boy. So I think the devil's going to be mad about this one. So you're going to have to pray that everything goes well and for people to see it, because I think a lot of people will come to Christ for it. In fact, his parents did, Fletcher. His parents did not know how this kid came out, because they were Catholic Christians, but they weren't very, you know, devout. And yet he just was on fire from the Lord from a little kid. In fact, they found his notebook at like 6 or 7 years old. And he was like, Jesus, I really want to be like you. I really want to do everything. I don't care what I have to do to be like you, to be a saint, to be like you. I want to love you. I want to be a good boy. I mean, like, this is as a little boy. He was on fire for the Lord young, and he would drag his parents to church. Like, come on, let's go, let's pray.
I mean,
and
how awesome is that? Right?
He's amazing. So I think it's really good. Try to get the young people to go.
Yeah, no, try to get them to go. It'll be amazing. I did want to share something really cute that I saw as we're closing out. Thank you, everybody, for joining us today. And let's see if I can do this right. Of course, I didn't do it right. Oh, that's funny. So let's see. All right, I think I almost
Just take your
got
time,
it.
Fletcher. You can do
Are you
it.
sure? Are you sure? I don't know.
Well, yeah, I'm sure. Blessed Carlo Acutis, pray for us.
Amen. Amen. So this is an 85-year-old man walked through the handmade invites to each neighborhood for a party. You know? So let's check this out. This was, I think, it's super cute. He handmade these invitations.
Hi. I'm Doug across the street over here, right? I live over in that house there.
Okay.
And there's an invite to a party on February 15th.
Okay.
But I didn't want to leave it in the mailbox because when you read
He
it,
gives me this little invitation that literally looks like he used like some sort of like pen to then like make copies of these and give them out to all of our neighbors. And it says, a celebration of winter, February 15th, 4 p.m. until the cups arrive.
How cute is that?
It's very cute.
Isn't it cute?
You know, you can live every day until you die. You don't have to die before you die. You can live every day. Don't die before you die.
There you go. There you go. Stay active. And I thought this was cute. You know, we kind of always end it with a little pet video. This dog is trying very hard to make a newly adopted Rottweiler to play. So this Rottweiler just got adopted, and the dog's trying to get him to play with him.
Honey, your dog playing.
It's like, what you doing, man? Don't bother me. I don't do that silly stuff. Come on, man. Let's go play. All right. No.
She's learning.
Oh, that's so cute.
They have such compassion. And you see, one's white, one's black. They still get along.
And not only did they get along, but, you know, one can outreach to the other to say, hey,
yeah,
let's play. Let's hang out. We have a lot more in common than you think.
Yeah.
And I think that shows you that God's creatures sometimes can teach us something that we don't want to learn somehow, but I think it's good to learn that, you know, we're all just here. We're all just God's creation, and if we help each other out, we'll be better off for it. So I guess that's the message that we want to leave on today. Right, Ursula?
Absolutely.
Awesome. We thank everybody for joining us. If you're catching it on the replay, please share, like, and subscribe, as the people say on the interwebs. And if you can, leave a comment on the video. That helps out with the algorithms. That's what also people say. So have a good night. God bless you, everyone. Bye.
Ave Maria, Maria, rogai por nós, Santa Mãe de Deus.